Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series, Explorations in Savitri, with our beloved Alok. We continue now in Book 4, Canto 2, The Growth of the Flame, and we are on page 360, about 2/3 of the way down.
362, right?
I have 360.
Okay, yeah. 360, that's right.
Intense philosophies
Yes.
pointed to heaven.
So, while Sri Aurobindo is describing the development of Savitri as she is getting equipped and prepared for the task given to her, what she has come with, he is also describing aspects of human nature and the directions in which they can branch out. So, in this yoga, especially, one has to develop also the nature. At one place, the mother speaks of the Purna Yoga, which is the integral yoga, and also Purna Shaktishali Yoga, the integral yoga where you develop all the capacities and then offer at the feet of God. And there is a difference between the two. So, difference in terms of the work which the divine can do through us. So it's good to develop aspects of the mind, of heart, of vital, to refine the senses, the body itself, because this is a yoga of divine manifestation, divine fulfillment, not a yoga of escape from worldly life, in which case it doesn't matter, except that all that you need is to find the access gate and the key and strength of will, which is important in any case in any yoga. And but here all other dimensions also, if one can develop, it's very good. Second, please.
Sri Aurobindo does mention, and I was just reading it today, he says the path is long and it's hard and difficult, but
surrender makes it easy.
Surrender makes it easy, yes.
And self-giving makes it shorter.
Yes,
that's how
yes, there we are.
So another aspect is that often many of us are conversant with Sri Aurobindo's life, and we know that he was a poet, he is a poet, philosopher, yogi, revolutionary and all that. And we know some of the landmarks of his yoga. But very few people are aware of the many-sided development of the mother's life. I mean, she is a poet. Incidentally, she has written poetry, philosophies. Now this is already done. At the same time, she is a painter. She had painted that famous cathedral where the priest at Fau, how do you pronounce it? Pfau. And the priest told her that, the Moors. So she has painted that part in the wall. And he said that whatever you may say, you are surely one of us, because nobody who doesn't know Christ can paint it like this. She had painted with a completely inner vision. Music, of course, we know. And many aspects of art and all this, her senses, the way they were developed and refined, it's unimaginable.
And then there's her time in Algeria.
Yes.
Occultism.
Occultism of a kind which has never been heard. I have not read, having read all the possible literature, I have not read this kind of occultism ever, where she could separate 12 body sheaths, one after another. We hear about 7 bodies, and at the most human beings can access 5 with great difficulty, the rarest of rare yogis. She speaks about 12 bodies successively separating.
And she goes and catches the word.
And brings it down, the word of creation.
Yes.
I mean, it's a fascinating life, but in a way, I'm glad that nobody has written much about it. There are different books, of course. Brikim's book is there, Srinivas Iyengar's book is there, but not as many. And in a way, it is good because none can write about mother's life for sure. Even writing about Sri Aurobindo's life is impossible, but certainly about mother's life, because it's so complex. Really look at it, so complex, so intense, and so one-pointed.
And Sri Aurobindo says, my life has not been lived on the surface for men to see.
So,
And
but
still they wrote
but with
biographies.
that of course. But the mother's life, it's very interesting to read it from different places,
Yes.
aspects of her life, and of course the ultimate is Sri Aurobindo's the mother, where who else is she but the Shakti of the Supreme. So it's very interesting that how she is developing different aspects of her nature.
And I guess in Savitri, when she has to go through all of Satyavan's passing and meet the Madonnas and go
Yes.
and meet death and all the things, he's telling Mother's story here.
Even in terms of yoga, when people ask Sri Aurobindo, that is mother a disciple of Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo had to clarify she is not a disciple of Sri Aurobindo.
Yes.
She was already an accomplished, she was already an adept in the Buddhist yoga and an accomplished in the yoga of the Gita. She had realized it. And the Raj Yoga, the Kundalini Yoga. And mother had all these experiences, but in France, nobody dared to tell her. So one day someone gave this copy of Swami Vivekananda's Raj Yoga. Some of us must have read it. I have read it. It's a very fascinating book. It picks up from Patanjali Yoga Sutras, but it's very nice. So she said, when I read it, I said, oh, there is somebody who can explain all this. She had experience of all this Kundalini and everything, all spontaneously, without actually any outer guru. So she was equipped. And she was already on the way to the supermind. That's how Sri Aurobindo puts it, that she had all the same experiences as mind, except that she went through the front door. So that is the kind of yoga that she had done.
And she kept seeing Krishna.
Yes.
She saw Krishna, or she called him Krishna, but the moment she saw Sri Aurobindo, she said this is
Krishna. She
Krishna.
recognized in him the Krishna
Yes.
of her visions.
Yes.
But see, this is the problem with human beings. Just as an aside, they keep saying Christ will come down again. Then there is Buddhist saying that, Maitreya Mita Buddha will come down. Shri Krishna has also said, Sambhavami Yoge Yogi, I will come down. But we are expecting them to come in the way they came in their previous birth. So we don't recognize. If Christ comes, he will not be born in Jerusalem and learn Hebrew. If Buddha comes, he is not going to speak in Pali and be born in the Shakya clan. And if Shri Krishna comes, he is not going to be once again Dwarka and bless all the cult movements that have sprung up around him and say, oh, Vaishnava saints, I am so happy to meet you. Not at all, because he is coming for a new work. And that's what I see in Sri Aurobindo, a summary of all these past avatars. And this is the second coming. I mean, to me, it sounds so, looks so obvious.
When they come, they will come for the supermind.
Yes. So it's so interesting. Intense philosophies pointed earth to heaven, or on foundations broad as cosmic space, upraised the earth mind to superhuman heights. So this was the 7 volumes of philosophy when she was with Theo. So it was called Le Cosmic, or it was Cosmic Review.
Cosmic
so
Review.
It was based on all the cosmic law. And if you read through it, it speaks of Pralaya, of coming of Satyug, some of the passages, even 6 of her very profound visions are described there. But when she came to Sri Aurobindo, she left all this behind. In fact, once sitting with Sri Aurobindo and all this went into, crashed and silence. This is surrender. Not like we are carrying all these baggages and still we want, we come here. Okay, Sri Aurobindo says though, so Sankaracharya says this, somebody else says this. Then there is khichdi in the head.
Yes.
Here is the mother who has written, if you read through some pages of the cosmic philosophy, you'll be surprised that what kind of knowledge and wisdom there is in it.
And when Mother came, we were taken by Lata to the stairs that she climbed up. She stood at the base of the stairs and Sri Aurobindo was at the top. And she speaks of him so beautifully. And she says that he sat at a table opposite Paul Richard. And she sat
at his
the
feet,
floor,
on the side.
And all the while he talked to Richard, he was emptying her mind until it was completely empty.
Yes. And she writes after that, her first prayer, 1st April and 3rd April, she speaks of, I feel like a newborn child who has no karma, who has no past. Now imagine, it's one thing to be like a newborn child when you have a very simple nature, there is nothing much to really. But when someone of that stature, with those experiences, and then she says, laughingly later on, she says, I learned what is called in India as renouncing the bhoga of an experience. So even great experiences, highest experiences, you lay down at the divine feet, say, I am here for your work.
And Sri Aurobindo said he had never seen anyone
With
who
this
could
surrender
like that.
Yes. So it's a wonderful story to hear, and every time you hear, there's a great joy in it. Overpassing lines that please the outward eyes, but hide the sight of that which lives within. Sculpture and painting, concentrated sense, upon an inner vision's motionless words, revealed a figure of the invisible. Unveiled all nature's meaning in a form, or caught into a body the divine. So that's how now Sri Aurobindo is revealing to us what is true painting, true sculpture. It's not just capturing the form or going by our mental fancies or vital urges, but to concentrate within till we go beyond the form and see something else, to bring it out. That is the joy of the artist. And then when you see it, because he substitute for a moment his eyes with an open vision for yours within, which is blind to beauty and truth. That is the work of an artist. Just as the work of a philosopher is to substitute our ignorant mental understanding for a true understanding, provided philosophy is not born out of a mental jugglery, but out of a vision which goes again beyond the word and beyond the speech.
This is one of my favorite passages, if I could.
Please. Yeah.
The architecture of the infinite, discovered here, its inward musing shapes, captured into wide breadths of soaring stone. Music brought down celestial yearnings. Song held the merged heart absorbed in rapturous depths, linking the human with the cosmic cry. The world interpreting movements of the dance, molded idea and mood to a rhythmic sway and posture. Crafts minute in subtle lines eternized a swift moment's memory, or showed in a carving sweep a cup's design, the underlying patterns of the unseen. Poems in largeness cast like moving worlds, and meters surging with the ocean's voice, translated by grandeurs locked in nature's heart, but thrown now into a glory of speech, the beauty and sublimity of her forms, the passion of her moments and her moods, lifting the human word nearer to the gods.
So here again, Sri Aurobindo is summarizing what the mother reveals at one place, that there are different zones of consciousness through which the human consciousness can soar. So the first zone is the zone of forms. So that's where sculpture and art which gives birth to forms, that is born. It's primarily connected to the senses, the sensual aspects of the mind. Then is the zone of music which goes further and further. And then is the intellectual zone, and beyond it the zone of lights, where there is nothing but colored play of lights. So she describes this, and beyond that is the beyond. So she says that these are the 4 levels, or rather 3 levels, which are still available within the human range in its ascension, and then of course the 4th level, which is just what tantrics call as the play of lights, and then there is the beyond. So each of them there is a story, the architecture of the infinite, discovered here its inward musing shapes, captured into wide breadths of soaring stone. So we see, for example, Matri Mandir, Golkund, they're all completely mother's projects. And several, she inspired the architects, but at the same time, whenever they had a difficulty and they couldn't solve an issue, they would go back to the mother. In Golkund, there are so many stories where to, exactly put something, and with mathematics they couldn't resolve it. So Pavitrada and Rimand and all these people came there, and the mother suddenly looks at the map and says, here it must be. So, and both these are, to call it amazing architectures is also to put it down. Golkund is a building which, if it was open to tourists, it would easily rank as among the best in the world. And when she had done it, this is in 40s it was started, and 40s merging into 50, when nobody in India would be even thinking of architectural beauty. Now, of course, things are coming up, and Matri Mandir same way. So it's something completely out of the world.
The man who did the carpentry was a friend of mine, George Nakashima. And he had a feeling for wood like I've never met anyone. They would send him huge stumps, and he would see, like Michelangelo, he would see the form in that stump and chisel away and create it.
So he lived here, no? His name was
He
Sundar
lived-
Anand.
He lived here for a while, yes.
For a while.
Yes.
And look at the name, Sundar Anand.
Yeah.
That's how, and very pleasant person, whatever I have heard.
Wonderful man.
And some of his tables are in different parts of the world. They're
Yes,
called
he-
as Nakashima's tables.
He
of
created
peace.
the peace tables.
Peace
They were
tables.
called peace
Yeah,
tables.
peace tables.
And there's one
One in UNO, that's right.
in UN, one in Delhi,
Yes.
one in Russia, and one in the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York, and the next one is for Africa. His
Yeah.
and one in Oroville, of course. And his daughter carries on this work.
So there are people who don't even know the kind of work that has been done just by the inspiration that people have received from the mother.
Yes.
They're not aware, because
Yes.
here in the ashram and in this work, one doesn't indulge in blanket distribution, free food, free medicines, which is the ultimate limit of human thought with regard to helping humanity. But there is another dimension which is much more important, where we help humanity by opening doors to the invisible and the unseen. That's what she has done, and it's something amazing. Now, music. Music brought down celestial yearnings, song held the merged heart absorbed in rapturous depths, linking the human with the cosmic cry. So, mother was asked about this music. So she says, she was asked, how do you play music? Of course, Sri Aurobindo has written that this is not just music, it's neither Eastern nor Western, but she brings down notes of the higher sphere. And she has many interesting experiences of music. One is when Yase, that's how.
The violinist.
Yeah, violinist. She says that in a concert, she suddenly heard him. And as she heard, it was like many things bursting out in the brain. And she had wonderful experience during that. He was playing Beethoven D major.
Yes, yes.
And then there is another experience where, when she was asked, how do you play? She says, it's like many sounds come together. It's very complex. And then she says, it's like I am on somewhere. She says, not like. She says, I see many orchestras, like many concerts going on in different directions. It's a cosmic cry. And all of these have to be taken in, and then, all that you have is a piano to connect.
Or a pump organ.
Or pump organ. A harmonium. She uses the word harmonium, basically. So all this cosmic cry she would take in and then use that to express. And it's really amazing. And so each of her musical pieces some of them are named. Many people don't know, so I must use this opportunity to shared this, that people just play mother's music, suddenly they stop it. 2 minutes meditation, they play mother's music and stop it. This is not how it is to be done, because it's a whole movement.
Correct.
So if you take up a piece, play the whole piece. If you don't want to play for 10 minutes, then pick up the other pieces. Sunil Das music is there, which you can, there are places where you can pause, but not mother's music. It's a whole movement. There are music which have 17 minutes, like Marching in Search of the Soul. There is Quiet Power. These are my favorite. Then Merger, Movement to Merger. That's another very beautiful.
Yes.
29th February 1960. Amazing. The notes, almost half an hour. At the end of it, you feel you are all bathed in the supramental gold. There are many: Joy, Fairy Dance, Prayer, Mystic Solitude. All amazing. I mean, apart from the regular, every year, New Year music. So, and none of this is on sale, incidentally. You cannot get it on sale. You have to either go to the recording department, and though I shouldn't mention the or part of it, but well, nowadays it's available in certain websites, and some people have it, who can give you on pen drive. And you have to figure out and find out who these people are. But all of them. So this is excellent news. It's also on the ashram website. Thank God, it's available now. So this is a different music, and Sunilda also different music.
Yes.
So this is a music which is embodying an entirely new expression. It's not a classical raga. It's not a typical Western music, but something else.
Well, Mother spoke to me a lot about music.
Yes.
And I can share a few things. One of them is she said that there was no preconception as to what would come down.
Yeah.
She would put her hands on the keys and the music would come. The other thing is, you'll notice that very often it's in a minor key. And then suddenly towards the end, it will burst out into a major key with all the glory you could imagine.
Yes.
And she told me about Chopin, and she said that his music was often heard on the inner planes. But she said, I don't know why. And she spoke about other composers, of course, and then told me, of course, to bring down a new music. And that's been my work with the Om Choir for all these years. But we have so much to learn from Mother's music.
And the same applies to every activity, even speech. If you prepare with a preconceived idea that this is how it has to be, it is not the real inspiration which must flow directly. So exactly the process with painting, with any activity, to stay inwardly quiet and open. And let her Shakti, her force, flow through. Yeah, that's right. So it's so beautiful, she has taught things. Now about dance, the world interpreting movements of the dance. World interpreting movements of the dance. Molded idea and mood to a rhythmic sway and posture. Crafts minute in subtle lines, eternized a swift moment's memory, or showed in a carving's sweep, a cup's design, the underlying patterns of the unseen. So everything becomes an expression of the divine. So dance, we know there are so many stories. One of them is when this Sahanadi. Sahanadi is, of course, is one part, but the other is Rusobhadi. So
Shobhadi, yes.
One is Sobhadi, another is Sahanadi. I think Radha's prayer is Sahanadi's story. So she wanted to, Radha's dance she had to do. There were two dances. One of them was Radha's dance. So she would go and she just couldn't do it. Something would happen. So she asked Mother, what is the problem? I know dance and I go there on stage, but I'm not satisfied. She first told her that you are self-conscious. Don't do it that way. Think that only the divine is the only audience. No, nobody else. So then second thing she said, when you go there, you must know how Radha felt. Do you know how Radha felt when she stands before the Lord? So then the mother gave that famous Radha's prayer. First, she didn't give it as a prayer, but it's a note that when she stands before Krishna, her state is, you see, thought and mood, that everything of mine belongs to you. Everything, each drop of blood, each cell of my body belongs to you. And it doesn't matter what I get from you. I don't want. What you give to me is wonderful, it's joy, it's prasad. She said, you should be in this state, the rest will come. And of course, then the mother gave this famous Radha's prayer on the next day, which is now we all know. So,
There's a little bit more on dance. There was a gentleman, Rolf Jaluski, and it was a dance I could never understand. But mother liked him so much, he would dance before her many, many times. And it was all kinds of movements of the body. Another lady would dance on the balcony so mother could see her. And mother would tell her, be careful not to fall. So mother had so much to do with dance.
dance, music,
Music, yes.
and Pavitrada, very few people may know that he would do a tiptoe dance in front of mother.
Yeah.
So this idea of a stern-looking yogi, of course, he was a very, very amiable, very pleasant person. So she would do tiptoe dance in front of mother. So there are so many wonderful stories around, which one recalls. Even postures indicate. So all this asana, some people learn it outwardly. But for her, mudras, asana, everything came spontaneously. And some of the things that she used to do as a child, certain postures, when Sri Aurobindo came to know about it, he said that these are all tantric mudras. She didn't know. She had not read Tantra like that, but she doesn't have to. She's the mother of Tantra. So this is how her life is. So beautiful to hear about it. Poems in largeness, cast like moving worlds and meters surging with the ocean's voice, translated by grandeurs locked in nature's heart, but thrown now into a crowded glory of speech. And poems she used to write at the age of 15. See, it is because later on she got more and more so much into the work and with managing, whatever number of ashramite, but each a difficult specimen, an impossibility. You can imagine, how she was able to. So obviously she left it behind. But she describes one of the experiences with poetry that she would get up at night and write a poem and then go off to sleep. It used to be a spontaneous poetry. So one day she unfortunately left the drawer open. She would keep it in the drawer and then close it. So one day she left the drawer open. Morning, her mother came, physical mother. And she saw the drawer and picked out the poem and read it. Said, "What has gone wrong with you? We must take you to a doctor." Because what poems they must be. It's a pity that many of these are lost. Even prayers and meditations. Many people don't know that what we have today is only some less than half of it. All the important personal aspects have been cut off. She didn't want it. Even this she didn't want. It is at Sri Aurobindo's insistence that she allowed these to be published. But there are many parts which are all about some profoundest experiences. So we cannot imagine.
And I think he translated 12 of them or so.
He translated some of them very beautifully. The beauty and sublimity of her forms, the passion of her moments and her moods, lifting the human word nearer to the gods. So with every aspect we see now, from form to music to the word being lifted nearer to the gods. So this is how she describes exactly the same way in the agenda. And then of course the occult side. Man's eyes could look into the inner realms. His scrutiny discovered numbers law. She has a lot to say on this. She says to disciple in agenda, she says, at one time I was very interested in numbers.
Yes.
And one of them was when she goes to meet Madame Theon, she sees the crown of 12 pearls around her head. So that of course are the 12 powers which Madame Theon could see, and she saw the white light coming through her body, and she immediately remarked, I know you are that, because that light with the 12 pearls, jewels could be seen. And once there is a very complicated tantric mantra and a yantra given to Satprem. He had learned tantra from, I think, the Swami at Rameshwaram. Yeah. So he learned, but he had to do it several times, several thousand times. He had to sit in a posture and all. See, what is the difference between the knowledge which is now lost in the rituals and extracting the true knowledge? So he says, Mother, I am getting so bored, it's so mechanical, I have to write it so many times. He says, okay, what is it? She laughs first. He says, okay, show me, what is it? So he shows. She sees the diagram for a moment. Then she says that, look, there are 9, this thing, and there is you have to write it, 9, 12 is 108. So, and then she explains that, this is the other way of looking at 108. Not the physical way that there is sun is so far and moon is so far. Don't have. There is an occult truth behind 108. Right. So, anyways, so she looks at the number and says 12 is the number of Mahalakshmi, and this is why you have to write it like this, and this is the power which is being invoked. It's a whole thing. It's amazing. It's worth, Then, I don't know whether you have noted or not. Mother's car. Seen the car, no? You know the number of the car? It is P1012 followed by D. So I take it P, of course, is Pondicherry. 10. 1 is the Supreme and 0 is the Shunyam.
And 12.
And 12 is Mother's number and D is divine. So the number itself is, I think one of the talks I had spoken about the mother's car and the number. And she's given an interesting significance to all the numbers. 1 to 14. All the different significances. So this is a different way of looking at the world of numbers. And as I said, each of them is a marvel. So numbers law.
There was a time in the ashram, I believe during the war, when mother would have the children bring her flowers, especially transformation. They would bring hundreds and thousands of flowers and she would count them all. And she never exactly told us why.
One person used to mention that it was her contract with material nature. So she was, looking at it that material nature has said she will collaborate. Is she collaborating or not? Because some people said, Mother, this is very mechanical, counting all the flowers. And what is the need of doing it? Then even with the petals of transformation, the number of petals, psychological perfection, the number of petals, based on that. So the way she has elaborated on everything, we know only little bit number in terms of, this number means this number means that. But the way she has elaborated is something amazing. Then she goes further and organized the motions of the stars, mapped out the visible fashioning of the world, questioned the process of his thoughts, or made a theorized diagram of mind and life. So this is about man's eyes. So again about astrology. She was an adept even in that, but she has not used these things, except very rarely. And she would say that if you have turned to spiritual life, then it doesn't apply anymore. So astrology also belongs to the realm of human endeavor. It doesn't belong to the spiritual life. So many people, don't know the distinction, especially in India. Oh, astrologer, great. So astrology belongs to occult. Occult is still the realm of the ignorance.
Absolutely.
But a person who is taken to spiritual consciousness, all this has no meaning. It is left behind. But she knew it, and that's what is going to come now. A theorized diagram of mind and life. But there is something else beyond this theory. These things she took in as her nature's food. But these alone could fill not her wide self. So if one is satisfied with all these things, then one is still struggling and laboring in the realm of the ignorance. A human seeking limited by its gains. What a paradoxical line. How can gain be a limit? If I am satisfied with the gains, it's a limit. Human seeking limited bites gains, because one feels, oh, now I am an astrologer, I am a Pandit, so I don't need to go beyond. But here she says, but these alone could fill not her white self. A human seeking limited bites gains, to her they seemed the great and early steps, hazardous of a young discovering spirit, which saw not yet by its own native light. So even all this, all these branches of knowledge still do not complete the picture. Something is left. This is narrated beautifully in one of these stories in the Upanishad. Story of Narada, who has mastered 64 types of branches of knowledge, vidyas, which includes music, dhanurdhari, all these things he had mastered. But still he is unhappy. Something is missing in his life. So he chances upon Sage Sanat Kumar and he says, Narad, you look quite depressed. He says, yeah, I don't know what is the cause of my depression. Everything is fine. I am not married. It could apply to Miss Narad also. So this is a gender neutral. Okay, this is not. Please don't look upon it as, it is not gender specific. It is gender neutral. Okay, but it could be either ways. Just joking. I have got an MNC job. You could multiply. So, but I am unhappy. So he says, okay, he says, what have you studied? He says, I have, in my college, I went to Harvard and here and there, and I have studied 64 branches of knowledge, Vidya. So he says, oh, is it? You are learned man. Tell me. So he narrates all of them. Then he says, have you heard about Brahma Vidya? He says, no, there was no course, no syllabus in my university. Okay. That was not JNU, okay. So they don't teach. Even in other universities, it's not taught. Okay, so he says that is the problem. He says, but what is Brahma Vidya? So he says, knowing which all else can be known. So it's a knowledge from within outwards. Knowing which all else can be known. So this is what we see here, that this is not satisfying her. These are early infant steps of humanity. So this is the...
Which she already sees
as
a young person.
Yes, as a young person. Because it's the growth of the flame. It tapped the universe with testing knocks, or stressed to find truth, mind's divining rod. There was a growing out to numberless sides. Like you are reaching out into the universe in many ways to knock. Look at it, how it happens. So we have a material universe which we see with the eyes. So when we develop the eye of the painter, we begin to feel a presence inside. So we are going beyond the material. Or when we begin to, our thought stretches towards infinity. Or music. No, this universe is not just as it looks. There is a pattern, there is a rhythm within it. So through music you want to catch the original vibration. Or through poetry, through philosophy, thought stretching out. Like Sri Aurobindo uses the expression that our forefathers were not afraid of thinking. They swam in seas of thought. So, thought stretching out towards, but our thoughts are normally linked to the mundane, everyday life. Khana kya banega? Where do we go today? That's all, it's limited to that. But thought stretching out towards, so it is knocking, look at the expression, knocking at the universe to stretch it further, beyond the material limits. But not the widest seeing of the soul. Still something is missing. Not yet the vast, direct, immediate touch. Not yet the art and wisdom of the gods. So this is the direction, this is a preparation. And a time comes when suddenly a door opens, whichever way, even through music. The highest music goes beyond raga. The highest philosophies go beyond philosophy. They break through all systems. That's why iconoclasts, Swami Vivekananda, you can't categorize it in any of the traditional forms. Some people try to put it. But if you are able to put it into a system of thought, it's not yet the highest. The highest is born free. You see, like Shiva, that is the problem of his father-in-law. He wants Shiva to conform to a way of thought. But Shiva is Veda what he speaks. So this is how, that same thing happens with Sri Aurobindo. Is he a Vedantin? Is he a Tantric? Is he belonging to this thought, that school of thought? Advaita, Visishta Advaita, Dvaita Advaita, Dvaitavad, and people have no limit to. Are step out of these boundaries and then you will see the infinity standing behind it. It is infinity expressing through words. Sri Aurobindo never thought like, oh, I am writing Vedanta. So, few more lines.
A boundless knowledge greater than man's thought, a happiness too high for heart and sense, locked in the world and yearning for release, she felt in her, waiting as yet for form. It asked for objects around which to grow, and natures strong to bear without recoil the splendor of her native royalty.
So beautiful. A boundless knowledge greater than man's thoughts. So it is something which has never been put into thought and word. And that's why when Mother speaks of thoughts, he says, if you go behind thought, you will discover the idea. And the same idea can be expressed in countless ways. And then you go beyond the idea to the consciousness, and you see the same consciousness can be expressed through different ideas. How beautiful it is. So, and in fact, he says, one of the aphorisms of Sri Aurobindo, knowledge becomes stale. If you keep on, repeating it, you have read somewhere and you have, prepared it in your head and you repeat it, then it's a stale thing. But when it is continuously lived in your own inner life as an ongoing experience, then it carries the freshness of a flower which comes from the same tree, on the same plant, and yet every day there is something new about it. So that's how it is. A happiness too high for heart and sense, locked in the world and yearning for release, she felt in her, waiting as yet for form. And then these three lines are very beautiful. It asked for objects around which to grow. Something which can help release of this imprisoned Godhead of the future. So Freud spoke about the imprisoned animal and the jinn inside man. And ancient Indian wisdom, and Sri Aurobindo speaks of that, speaks of the imprisoned God seeking for release. Look at the whole inversion of view. Freudian psychology looks from here upward, and therefore beyond a point clouds. Whereas this is a vision of sun from above downwards.
Yes.
So the imprisoned joy, the imprisoned knowledge, which is boundless, infinite, seeking for release. So what does it ask? It asks for objects around which to grow and natures strong to bear without recoil. This is important for all of us. If you really want to receive, if we are small, narrow, dogmatic, closed in fixed ideas, spirituality means tick mark. When we go to a spiritual place, we have tick marks. We are going to an ashram. Oh, ashram means we'll see some people in certain dress, attire. Probably there will be some bhajans in the evening, some kind of a satsang. Some people will dance. There will be a Babaji sitting who will give you some ashirwad. Something like that. You will go and tell ki I have this problem. Okay, bacha theek ho jayega, like that. You suddenly walk into the ashram. Some people after walking ask, yehi ashram hai. Is this, am I at the right place? Yes. Nobody is giving anything. No guru mantra, nothing. Well, that's the joy, the freedom of the divine. He loves humor. He has a sense of humor. So, you see, it's absolutely, there is nothing which outwardly we are used to. So, this is because the truth which is being brought out is really infinite. It's not fixed to a particular form. Nobody tells you stand like this and pray like this and in this posture and this mantra, nothing. You can stand any which way. You can sit and meditate if you wish to. You can pick up a agarbatti and put if you wish to. And if you don't wish to do any of these things, you can just come in and walk out. Look at the way, the whole place. So
Mother was already looking for these strong natures.
Strong natures.
At her age.
Even
She was looking for us.
yes, even in one of Sri Aurobindo's letters, he says, I have not come here to create a mutt of sannyasis.
Yes, yes.
So what have I come here for? I have come here to call the souls of the strong to the Leela of Krishna and Kali.
Yes.
I mean, just imagine, I have come here not to have mathas full of sannyasis. I may add pot-bellied sannyasis. I have had terrible experiences with these guys, I want to, temptation to speak. One I'll share. One in Narmada, where you have Kali's, famous Kali temple. So I was taken there. So I went inside, very excited that I'll see that Kali which Sri Aurobindo came and saw. But as I stood, I saw the way it was kept. I got furious. Maybe that fury entered me. I said, who takes care of this place? So they said, Mahantji. Where is Mahantji? Mahantji must be in his room. I went and barged into the room. This fellow was eating nice dishes, watching TV. I said, look here, you don't know how to take care. You know what this place is? Aap kaun hai? I said, that's irrelevant. Proper. I said, this is irrelevant. Don't ask me who I am. But look what you have. He got, something else was working that time. So he got really scared. That he said, no, sir, I'll, hum karenge. He was totally fumbling. I said, please do something. Abhi to I am cleaning it. So I took the cloth and, took the water and, cleaned the picture. It's so badly kept. I mean, the place where Sri Aurobindo has gone and stood, you forget about anything. He has gone to that place and stood there. And what has he seen? He has written there in that poem, The World Mother. Here he had a vision of the World Mother in that miniature picture. And that's the way we, our heritage, take care of heritage. Soul needs strong natures who will not recoil from this vastness. We recoil from vastness. We want littleness. It is comfortable. So we want a Babaji who will tell stock things, wake up in the morning, touch parents' feet, listen to them. This is, anybody can hear all this. But strong natures, the divine is infinite, he is beyond. You see, Gita's knowledge is given to the strong. What is that knowledge? Don't look at your guru and this and that, but look only at truth and act according to that. What tremendous, powerful. I mean, strong natures. The splendor of her native royalty, her greatness and her sweetness and her bliss, her might to possess and her vast power to love. She is looking for people who will receive her love. Yeah. Vast power. To possess, just imagine being possessed by the divine. And that's the only thing possible, by the way. We cannot possess the divine. But we can allow him to possess us. And this is what is mentioned in the Gita when Shri Krishna says, when he is asked, what is the sign of the spiritual man? So he asked outer things, Kim Bhasha, how he speaks, how he lives. Shri Krishna doesn't give any of that. And Sri Aurobindo elaborates that in his essays on the Gita. But one of the signs he says is, one is Sthit Pragya, and another he says Brahma Bhut. Another place he says Mad Bhavam Madgata. He is so full of me. He's saying, the divine possesses you. What more could one want? But you need strength. Otherwise one will break down. And she says a little joy and you start jumping and dancing. And now many of these temples have become these dancing clubs. So she says strong natures which will not break down under the pressure. So this is what she wants. Strong natures. And we have our stories in Ramayana. None of them were dancing or jumping. They were monkeys, but look at the strength. That's how they could march to Lanka, And same with Mahabharata. So, earth made a stepping stone to conquer heaven. The soul saw beyond heaven's limiting boundaries, met a great light from the unknowable, and dreamed of a transcendent action sphere. So, earth is only a footstool to conquer heaven. Heaven, only a starting point for a still greater discovery. And in our life, it should be the transcendent who acts and speaks and lives and breathes in us and through us.
Sri Aurobindo said if he had 12 people.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
he could change the world.
So it's so beautiful. Bonane, let it be.
Bonane.
Let this
Bonane.
be an agenda for the year. Become ready to bear the onrush of the infinite.